All right, it is time to skol with the enemy, babe. All right, welcome back to the Onebar and Lupagus show. I'm Onebar. It is time to skol with the enemy, as always. This week, Vikings traveling to Washington. So we are joined by Greg Sykes of the Washington Football Maniacs channel. All the links, descriptions will be down in the description. Be sure to hit him up, give him a sub. We're going to get to know this damn pesky Washington squad. Greg, welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you, Onebar. Thank you for letting me on here, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I got to say, Greg's beard is much more manicured and much better shape than mine. Mine is a little patchy, so he's already making me look like a fool.
Nah, it's I've got to manicate something, so there you go.
All right, well, let's get to know this Washington squad. And before we started, we were actually talking about this quick, but just right off the bat, not even Vikings, Washington news. Snyder, news coming out. Is he selling the team? What's the feeling there?
I don't want to get my hopes up on this, but I will say it is very odd that they announced this, and how they announced it, because on one side it could be to where they are looking for minority owners to cash in, to buy a little bit of the team in order to help raise money for a new stadium. We all know that Dan Snyder can't seem to get the money for a new stadium. Maryland doesn't seem to want to help him out. Virginia doesn't want to help him out. DC definitely doesn't want to help him out. And so, this could be possibly a way that he's able to help raise money to get a new stadium. But at the same time, with all of everything that is going on, um, you know, what I heard today was that there's already 24 votes against him. And if that is true, then Dan Snyder's pretty much good as gone, and he knows that. And so, if that's the case, I really don't think that they come out and they announce that they're going to look to do some transactions. I really think this could be possibly a sell of the team. And honestly, I never thought I would see this in my lifetime, but I'm trying not to get my hopes up, but it's a possibility. I think we'll find out here in the next few days.
Wow. Well, you answered my next question if you want it to happen, and clearly that is definitely something that you are hopefully looking forward to. But let's talk about the Washington squad as a whole. 4-4. But before we get into them too much, I mean, just overall thoughts. 8 games into the season, just high level. Are you disappointed? Are you surprised? Are you pissed off? Did you have higher expectations? What are your thoughts so far?
Hmm. If I could answer all that one question, or one answer, it'd be yes. um, yeah, coming into the third season under the Ron Rivera regime, certainly you expect them to take the next step, and Ron Rivera expects them to take the next step. And we haven't seen that. What we have seen is, again, the same thing that's happening, right? You start off slow, you start off in the hole, and then suddenly you start to kind of dig your way out. Which, yeah, it's been nice to see them dig themselves out, but are we seeing improvements? No, I mean, some areas that I think Ron didn't obviously address, and probably in some ways have made worse, and we can certainly get into this a little bit later, is the offensive line, which I think has really affected the overall offense. But I've been disappointed with how things have been. I was already cautiously optimistic with picking up Wentz, and we'll get into that as well. But um, yeah, I really felt that um, this is a must-win year, and now that you look at the rest of the NFC East, you see how far ahead they are of us. Um, I, playoffs. I just I don't know, man. Right now to me, it looks like it's going to be another 7-10 season. That's what it's looking like to me.
Yeah, the one year the NFC blows up and all of a sudden really good is the year that you're 500. You would have been in the mix of things any other year for the NFC East. So, all right, you kind of answered it, but like when I look at Washington, I can't tell if this is a team that is just in limbo, if they're all in to win, if they're trying to start to rebuild. I mean, where are they right now?
You know, I think part of this is, in some ways, I think Ron Rivera has done a good job, and Martin Mayhew in the draft. And certainly, not all Washington fans will probably agree with me on this, but I think they have drafted for the future in some areas, even quarterback. I thought that they had to steal the draft with Sam Howell. I don't even remember who I picked when I came on your show, but I knew it was the quarterback. I couldn't remember if I even said Sam Howell or not. But I was very surprised that we were able to get him, and I was very surprised that you know, he dropped to the fifth round. So I felt that we are building for the future. With guys like that who could possibly be starting for us next season. Um, but I think in some ways we're in limbo again, like with the offensive line. Obviously, if you look on the other side of the ball, we've built it right for the most part. I always feel like you build within the trenches out, right? You look at that defensive line, it should be one of the best defensive lines in football. We're
Sure.
getting Chase Young back. Hopefully, I mean, I'm not expecting Chase Young to be 100%, and I'm not expecting him to play every down or even 50%. And I could be wrong, but Chase Young, um, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat, John Allen. I mean, a bunch of number ones on that defensive line, and I think that's how you build. And then on the offensive, on the offensive side, I think that's how you need to build on the offensive side. You need to get your guys up front, and we've lost guys. We've lost Trent Williams, which I know wasn't anything with Ron Rivera, but we lost Trent Williams, we lost Morgan Moses, we lost Brandon Sheriff. We've lost some very high quality players on that offensive line, and we just haven't replaced them with the same quality, not even close. So, yes, I do feel like we're in limbo in some places. In other places, some skill positions, I think we've done really well. Certainly wide receiver, I think we're loaded at wide receiver. Terry McLaurin, I think he's one of the best in the league. Um, I think Jahan Dotson has a bright future. The running backs. I think Brian Robinson. What an amazing story he's had coming back after being shot. Um, Antonio Gibson. I was kind of down on him because he just couldn't seem to hold on to the ball last year, and then this year I don't think he's lost one single ball, and he's played really well. So it's like in some places I feel like we're in limbo. Other places I think we've excelled. So to me that kind of I think our record honestly reflects that, right? 500 record, 4-4 reflects what we built.
All right. Once again, we're joined with Greg Sykes, Washington Football Maniacs. Hit up those links down in the description. Give them a sub. Find them on Twitter. Let me ask you this: as an outsider, it seems like a lot of people see the Vikings at 6-1, but aren't really buying into that 6-1 yet. They haven't beaten any, but whatever. What are your thoughts as far as the Vikings coming to town?
I mean, the Vikings have a lot of weapons. Kirk Cousins has a lot of weapons, and I'm a Kirk fan. I hate it to I hate it to see Kirk leave Washington. I know the biggest knock on Kirk Cousins was, he can't win the big games, he can't win the primetime games. But this year, I think he's came out with a sense of urgency, and he's played well. I haven't got to watch a lot of Viking games this year, but I have seen a little bit. And from what I've seen, he's been very crisp with how he's played. He gets the ball out really fast, and And the Vikings built up a pretty good defense as well. And they've willed and dealt, with their trade yesterday. They filled some positions where they needed it with some guys who are on IR. I think they're in a great position. As a matter of fact, I think I even saw, I was reading an article today about, is this time that Kirk Cousins actually takes the Vikings to the Super Bowl? Could be, I mean, why
You're
not?
gonna get me hot and bothered, man. You get me excited.
Hey, what was it? The Vikings and the Eagles that was in the NFC East Championship. So
Yes,
we
sir.
could see a rematch. Could see a rematch. I mean, and of course, I would pull for the Vikings in that because I just cannot stand the Eagles. You know
Nobody
me. I
can.
cannot.
Anybody like the
No,
Eagles? I'm not even the NFC
no.
East. I can't stand the Eagles.
I
Nobody
don't.
likes
I'm not even sure if the Eagles fans like each other. I
them.
mean,
I
I
don't know
don't
if they
know.
like anybody.
They don't. They don't like Santa Claus. I know that much.
You bring up Kirk Cousins, but let's go on the other side of that, where Kevin O'Connell spent some time in Washington, 3 years, quarterback coach, offensive coordinator. I mean, looking back, putting yourself back in 2017, whenever it was, would you have thought at any point like he would be a head coach in the league? And not only that, but so far, I mean, his rookie year, I mean, 6-1. Did you see this coming as a Washington fan?
I did not. I mean, I really felt that. I felt it was too soon. And it shows you how much I know. Because I mean, every now and then you're going to get a coach that goes from position coach all the way to head coach. I always feel like the natural progression is you go from position coach to coordinator and then to a head coach. And O'Connell kind of just I guess he just kind of jumped and went straight to head coach. But he, of course, like Sean McVay and Matt Floor. I mean, we had all these guys in house, and we had the talent, and we let them go. And it's a head scratcher. I knew that O'Connell would be successful, but I didn't think it was going to be this quick and so soon. Um, you know, Zimmer, I felt that Zimmer was a decent coach. Um, but I also, from an outsider's point of view, it seemed like Zimmer really was quick to throw some of his guys under the bus. I'm not sure if he really liked Kirk Cousins as much. And then I thought it was probably a match made in heaven, for Kirk Cousins, for O'Connell to come in, right? And that has really, lifted Kirk Cousins' game. And but yeah, no, I did not expect them to come out and be 6-1 at this point. I mean, it's amazing.
Well, don't feel too bad. I mean, the Vikings have watched Tony Dungy go, Mike Tomlin go, Kevin Stefanski's had some success. So, but it is good to know that at least, I mean, saw a glimmer of that. So let's talk Carson Wentz. Late on me. This guy one and done in Washington. Has he been a disaster? Is he going to play again this? I mean, what's give me the Carson Wentz from a Washington guy.
I think he's one and done. I really do. The first game against Jacksonville, he came out hot. I mean, he threw some strikes. He did have a third quarter that was not great. And then all of a sudden, all of us fans are like, okay, this is what Eagles fans were warning us about. And then all of a sudden, he turned it around and, right back to being the Carson Wentz that we saw in the first half. And I was like, okay, no, I think I even came out with a video that said there's nothing wrong with Carson Wentz, guys. And I mean, I was like, I balled in. And even in the next game, the loss to Detroit, he still played really well. But there was other reasons why we lost that game. And after that, it's like he went downhill, and he just made boneheaded decisions that I think a veteran like him should not be making. Um, and not just that, but you can obviously tell that ever since that he had that ACL injury, he's not as mobile as he was. I mean, yes, he can run the football when he needs to, but he's just not moving around the pocket, He doesn't have the pocket presence, and in fact, that a lot of times he would move into a sack, and he would hold on to the football too long. It's just I don't think he's playing with a lot of confidence. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if Taylor Heineke, if he's able to win the games that he's supposed to be in and play for. I'm not sure if you put Carson Wentz back in. I think maybe you keep Taylor Heineke in there. And it's not saying that Taylor Heineke has played that great. He hasn't, but he's played good enough to win. And I mean, I'll take an ugly win over a pretty loss any day.
Well, I'm just going to ask you if Sunday was the NFC Championship game and we're playing Washington and you're choosing between Taylor Heineke or Carson Wentz starting that game, who are you starting?
I'll start Taylor Heineke because, I go back to that wild card game against the Tampa Bay Bucks, who, eventually went on to win the Super Bowl that year. Taylor Heineke was not scared. He went out there and he this is old Joe Gibbs reference. He played his guts out, I mean, we darn near won that game. And I like the way that Taylor Heineke plays football. I don't like his mechanics, his throwing mechanics. They flat out suck. He's got his arm strength is not great. He tends to throw balls that I think would put his wide receivers in the hospital sometimes. But other than that, though, he's a baller. He patterns his game after Brett Favre, and I like watching him play. He's very exciting to play, and he wins. So I would probably take him over Carson Wentz right now. Now, it could be that if Carson Wentz does get back in and he starts to play better, okay, maybe I'll change my mind. But right now, I don't know. I honestly feel more confident with Taylor Heineke in there than I do Carson Wentz.
Former Minnesota Viking great Taylor Heineke until he decided to kick a door. But you know what? I would have loved for the Vikings to hold on to him. Everything you're saying, I completely agree with. I mean, he's like he seems like the perfect guy to have as your backup quarterback. I mean, that's where he should be. But if he has to come in a pinch, Taylor Heineke, why not? But let's stay on the offense side of the ball. You mentioned your receivers. You touched on this a little bit, but what's the bread and butter of this offense when it comes Sunday? What should Vikings fans be on the lookout for?
Terry McLaurin, because Taylor Heineke he's going to look for Terry McLaurin, even if Jahan Dotson is healthy enough to play, which Jahan should stretch the field enough and give some Viking fans some concern, because Dotson is the real deal, but McLaurin is the proven number one, and Heineke knows that if the game is on the line, that is who he's going to go after. So you look for Terry McLaurin, number one. I would say in the running game, of course, Antonio Gibson, who's a switchblade knife, I guess. He Swiss Army knife. I think that's what I was trying to say. We can put him in gadget plays as along with Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel can definitely line up as a running back. Of course, those little bubble type plays that he will run. So you're always looking out for what Curtis Samuel's going to do. But like I said, if the game is close and you need a big play downfield, it's going to be Terry McLaurin.
Well, it'll definitely be close. That's the way the Vikings roll. It could be 10-9. It could be 42-43, but it will be close. Which offensive lineman can we pick on?
All of them.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I hope that's true. What's up with your left tackle? He's grading out very well on PFF.
Now, Charles Leno, he is pretty solid. Out of all of them, Charles Leno, of course, the left tackle position is always the most important if you got a right-handed quarterback. And, Charles has done a commendable job there. So one thing with Washington, we've always enjoyed really great left tackles, in the last few years. Trent Williams, Samuels and guys like that. So, Leno is not in that group, but he has done a decent job. And, he's probably the best lineman we have. Norwell, who, we pretty much swapped guards. Now he plays on the left side, but we swapped Brandon Sheriff with Jacksonville for Norwell. And Norwell has not. I mean, I've seen him get trucked several times. He's had holding penalties on him. Um, I've not been impressed with him whatsoever. Don't think he's been worth the money. And then you look on the right side. We've had some injuries on the right side. I know last week we had Trey Turner in there for Shadiq Charles. Charles was sick, so I'm hoping that if Charles is healthy, he'll be playing this week. He's a little bit better than Turner. I think Turner is just not ready yet. And then finally, Cosme. He's been out for several weeks. I don't know the status, but I'm hoping that if we can get Cosme back, he'll kind of help solidify the offensive line. But honestly, outside of Charles Leno, that offensive line, and maybe Roulette, our center, it's not been good for us at all.
Well, not to pour salt in the wounds, but Vikings fans will love to hear that Norwell is not doing. I mean, everybody is clamoring for him. We needed a guard. Everybody wanted that guy. So that helps a little bit. Once again, Greg Sykes, Washington Football Maniacs. Links down in the description. We've got a couple more for him before we wrap this thing up. Let's talk defense. I mean, even without Chase Young, you already mentioned that defensive line. You got some pretty big hitters up front, which will definitely keep us up at night until Sunday. But what can we expect on defense? Where's the holes? Who's the studs?
So definitely, your studs can be up front, right? We should get Chase Young back. I'll be interested to see what capacity he'll be playing.
Do you think is he going to play this Sunday?
There's a chance.
Oh,
I thought I did hear
horrifying.
Ron Rivera say that he may start, but I don't know. I don't know. I would love to see him back out there. I know before there was mention that we were saving him till November. I'm like, well, it's November, so let's see him, right? But outside of Chase Young, if he plays, Smith Williams has done a decent job in place of Young, but Young is just a much better defensive end. Jonathan Allen has been the beast. He has been an absolute beast this year. Usually when you get these guys who just get paid, they kind of put it on cruise control and they're like, you know what? I got my money. I'm okay. I'm just not going to get hurt. Jonathan Allen has really stepped it up. And he's one you've definitely got to watch out for because he's going to stuff the run. He's going to get to the quarterback. He's going to upset the offensive line. Between him and Deron Payne, which, there were talks about trading him. I knew we were not going to trade him because, we have nobody in place for him. And then you got Montez Sweat, who started off really quiet in this season. And I know a lot of Commanders fans were kind of like, where is Sweat? I mean, he's out there, but he's not done anything. And he's kind of turned his season around. He's played much better as well. So, definitely your studs are up front. When you start to get to the linebacker positions, Jamin Davis has really improved greatly. He was our number one draft pick from a year ago. Did not have a great season last year. We started to feel like maybe he was a bust. This year, he started off kind of the same. He got called out by Jack Del Rio and Ron Rivera. You got to think those two guys are former linebackers on their own, right? So you don't want to get called out by those guys. But he has really turned it around. He has played really well. He made some top-notch plays against the Colts last week. some very crucial plays. That really was the difference between the Colts scoring a touchdown and having to settle for a field goal. And so he's the guy you're going to have to start watching out for. And hopefully, if Cole Holcomb, who's a very underrated player on that defensive linebacking core, if he is healthy, if that foot is healthy, he's our best tackler. He leads the defense in tackles. So he's going to be right there to stuff up, any runs that get past that front. Um, Secondary is where you have some question marks.
There we go.
Now, certainly they have played better in recent weeks. Thank goodness to the fact that we benched William Jackson III, and as of yesterday, we traded him to the Steelers. Now, I hope that he has a better time with the Steelers. I wish him well. Maybe he'll fit their scheme better than what he did in Washington. But the fact was, he was a liability for us. He could not play in the zone. Got beat tremendously. Now we've moved Benjamin St. Juice out on the end there. He's
Former
played
Gopher,
really
baby.
well.
Former Gopher. Yes.
Yeah, he's played really well.
Yeah.
He's done well. We do have Wild Goose, which I love that name, but he's learning, and he's going to every single game. He's going to have a pass interference call, and he's going to have one this game too. Might even have two. He's going to have some holding calls. I just know it because he is inexperienced. He's young, and but I've seen some improvement. Fuller, I haven't been that impressed with Fuller. I've seen him get beat. McCain, he's okay in some spots. He's like 50-50. So secondary suspect, you do have some good talent back there with Cameron Curl. He is a very solid guy. So I would say, St. Juice, Cameron Curl, guys like that are fantastic. And then the other guys could be liabilities. Kirk Cousins is going to have a very good opportunity to get the ball downfield.
I was going to ask you about Cameron Curl. I look forward to seeing that dude. I don't know nothing about him, but he's another guy that just grading out very, very good. So once again, Greg Sykes, Washington Football Maniacs, getting us up to speed on what to expect from Washington. Ending with this, come Sunday, expectations, not so much a score prediction, but are you expecting close game? Are you going into this thing just thinking you're going to get whooped or pull up the upset? What are you thinking?
I think it's going to be a close game. I think there's going to be a lot of hype. I'll tell you what, especially if for some reason, if we do find out that the owner, in fact, is selling the franchise, you may even see a lot more Washington fans filling the seats than what you normally do, because it's going to be a party. But instead of the 3 or 4 that usually shows up on Sunday. I think it really all depends on how fast their offense can start. Can we get the ball and put up some points in the first half, in the first quarter? We've not been successful with scoring in the first quarter. I know Kirk Cousins, and in the past when he played in Washington, we were really good with Kirk Cousins being able to have quick, fast starts and being able to put points on the board quickly. And then we would have kind of lulls, like around the third quarter. It seems like we would have lulls. I don't know if that's still the case or not, but we have to be, just kind of like third quarter, we wouldn't score anything. And then fourth quarter would kind of, game's on the line. Kirk Cousins would kind of kick it back into gear. But I think that it really all comes down to how we start, because I know the Vikings are probably going to start off pretty hot. Now, if we start off, just flat, then the game could really get away from us very quickly. So, but I do think it's going to be a close game. I do think the Vikings are going to take this game. I just think that they're a more complete team at this point. You know, I love the fact that we've won 3 in a row. It's fantastic. I just don't see us winning 4 in a row. I do think this is a winnable game for us, but I think we would have to play perfect football in order to beat the Vikings. I think everything has fallen in place for us to beat the Vikings. I just don't think that we're there yet. I think it's going to be close at the end.
Well, I can guarantee one thing: it will be close. It will come down to the wire. We could be up 20-3 going in the halftime. It will be close, regardless. That's the Viking way. Greg Sykes, Washington Football Maniacs. Hit up his links. Give him a sub. Hit him up on Twitter. Greg, appreciate you hopping on, man. This was wonderful. We got to do it again.
Absolutely, anytime. I enjoyed it.